Hello there, Cara Leopold here from Leo Listening. I am here to help you understand the movies and films you watch without the subtitles. So last week we were talking about the two things that you must do whenever you want to understand anything that you listen to, preferably something that has some kind of written text to go with it, like subtitles or a transcript. So the first thing that you need to do is diagnose your problems, and that's what we talked about in last week's video, the ways to do that. The main way is really just by doing dictations. That's where you find out what you're struggling with. And of course, the second thing to do is then to go about fixing these problems. So we said that typically in films, you're going to encounter problems due to unfamiliar cultural references, unfamiliar words, or words that you do know that sound different in fast spoken English. So in today's video, we're focusing on that last situation with words that you do know that sound different, because most of the time that's the problem that you're having. You're hearing words that you do know, but they sound different because of the way that they join together or the way that sounds disappear when we speak fast. So we're actually going to work on a clip from Never Let Me Go, which I think is quite challenging. And we're going to talk about some of the typical tricky bits. And we're going to focus today on different ways to fix the problems that you might have. So to start off, I'm going to share my screen and we'll go take a look at the clip. So the clip is from the channel Movie Clips, which I love as a channel. It's got official movie clips of various films, so that really helps because that way, you know, sometimes on YouTube clips disappear, whereas on movie clips, because all the clips are official, they stay on that channel, they won't disappear from one week to the next. So in this clip, you've got the characters when they're younger, so at the boarding school Hailsham, where they're kind of protected from the outside world. So this clip is quite challenging because we've got voices of younger actresses, and often younger people's voices can be trickier to understand just because they've got a higher pitched voice. You know, they sound different to adults. And, you know, very often when you're learning English, you don't really get a chance to hear the voices of children or younger people because most of the time in textbooks, they're using adult actors to talk. So that definitely makes life a bit trickier. Now, I'm going to actually focus mostly on the speech of Miss Lucy, who's one of the teachers at Hailsham. So I've pulled up already the transcript of the clip. Now, the problem here, this is a bit disappointing. A lot of the transcripts and therefore the subtitles on movie clips are accurate. So they're not machine generated automatically by YouTube. They're actually like checked and corrected. But it's not true on all the clips. You do have to kind of check. So unfortunately on this clip, we do have subtitles, but they're machine generated. They're not accurate subtitles. So that is going to make life a little bit difficult, especially if you wanted to work on this clip on your own. But anyway, it's sufficient for me to show you some of the typical listening difficulties that happen whenever you're listening to fast spoken English. So we're not going to worry about it too much for now. So what you can do is I'll link to the clip under this video so you'll be able to go away and listen to it yourself. What I always recommend for my students, for instance, is that they take a clip and they listen to the whole thing. They kind of, you know, get into the clip by listening to it once through, trying to catch what they can, and then expressing how much they understood as a percentage. So it's not 100% accurate of a science, but at least it gives you an idea, and it gives me an idea of how much they've understood. So I would encourage you to go away and do that after watching this video. Go away and watch the whole clip yourself and judge how much you understood with a percentage. So I'm going to, as I said, I'm going to focus on the speech of Miss Lucy. Now, the reason I've pulled up the transcript, even though there are mistakes, for example, Miss Pissy, no, that's not her name, it's Miss Lucy, is that what's really cool, and this is one technique you can use to start fixing your listening problems, is on YouTube, you can click on a line, and that enables you to play that particular line from the clip. So we're going to start with this first line from Miss Lucy.
Miss Lucy, why didn't Tommy get the ball?
Okay, so there are a few difficulties here. So the sentence is perfectly simple and normal. Why didn't Tommy get the ball? And one of the reasons it sounds very fast and a little hard to catch is that Miss Lucy, let's just keep calling her Miss Lucy, drops some of the T sounds. So instead of saying didn't, she says didn't. Why didn't Tommy? And also on get, she drops the T sound. Now, this is the normal situation in English. T sounds, especially at the ends of words, are mostly going to disappear. We've also got the issue that we've got some weak sounds. So the sounds like the ball. That's typically a word that kind of disappears, sounds like it's kind of swallowed in speech. And in fact, even didn't as well, as it's an auxiliary verb, it disappears. And it can be hard as well to tell, so is she using negative or the affirmative, because the T sound disappears and you're not quite sure which version it is. So I'll just replay it.
Miss Lucy, why didn't Tommy get the ball?
Okay, so that's what's going on there. So big issue for people learning English when they first hear fast spoken speech is, whoa, where did all the T sounds go? Okay.
And it bounced over the fence. It couldn't have been far from him.
Okay, there was a lot there. We're going to focus just on this line.
And it bounced over the fence.
So she doesn't say and it bounced, she says when it bounced over the fence. So again, we've got some disappearing T's. So the way she says it sounds like it. That's mostly how this word sounds in English. We rarely say it with a nice t. We've also got some links here. So that we've got a link between and it bounced, and bounced and over, and it bounced over the fence, bounced over. So we've got that link there. And of course, the way she says and, I'm pretty sure the D sound disappears.
And it bounced over the fence.
Oh, sorry, when it bounced over see, the transcript is confusing me. When it bounced over the fence. So we've got these links, and again, which is reduced to the fence. Okay, and then the last line.
Couldn't have been far from him.
Now, the automatic transcript has made an error, and often the errors that you see on this automatic transcript are really interesting because they show some of the difficulties related to fast connected speech. So what Miss Lucy says, but in contracted form, is it could not have been far from the fence. So she contracts could not have been to couldn't have been, couldn't have been. That type of contractions in general are hard to catch, and this particular one is really difficult, and it's difficult even to catch that it's a negative, and that's the problem that the automatic transcript has had here.
Couldn't have been far from him.
Far from him. So if you're not used to British accents, it can sound a bit weird because we don't pronounce the R sounds at the ends of words in general. So you get far from him, which might sound weird if you're expecting to hear an R sound. Interesting point here is that normally, and this is what the girls do, we drop the H sound on words like him or he in the middle of sentences. Here she actually pronounces it him. Which is a little unusual, although given that it's the end of her sentence, sometimes we do emphasize the words at the end a little bit more. And of course here we've got, I talked about couldn't have, and been, again, a typical word that gets reduced to been and makes it hard to catch if you're expecting to hear the word been. So I encourage you to go and watch the rest of the clip. figure out how much you understand. And then you can use this technique. This is one of the ways that you can fix your problem, is that you can replay particular lines on YouTube. You can even search for more examples of words that you find tricky. So here I highlighted some of the contractions, especially the negative contractions. You could search for more of them. Yeah, so we've got 2 examples of, I just did a search there with Control Find or Command Find if you're on a Mac like me. So you can bring up, well, we've only got 2 examples. The clip is quite short, so that doesn't help. But anyway, and also the issue here is that obviously you can see the lines, which kind of spoils the exercise slightly, because you can see everything. Plus, this transcript has errors. So, using the YouTube transcript, it can be a really big help. Probably works best, for instance, if you're working with a teacher and then, for example, you can't see the clip or the transcript and your teacher is playing the lines to you, then that's easier because you're not influenced by the text. So yeah, YouTube can work, but it's maybe not an ideal method if you're working by yourself. I'm going to talk about a couple of other things you can do instead. If I stop sharing my screen for just 1 second. So we've talked about YouTube, finding lines in the text, and that way you can get intensive practice on a particular point that you're finding difficult, that you identified at the diagnostic stage. So the sort of typical words and sounds that you're missing or mishearing, those are the ones you want to train. Now, there's a brilliant website that exists for training those exact problems. It's called TubeQuizard. It's been created by a very talented teacher called Olya Sergieva. And TubeQuizard works, but only with YouTube videos that have accurate subtitles. So I'm going to show you an example and bring up my sharing in. Ta-da! Okay, here. So what you can do with TubeQuizard is either you can use one of the quizzes from a video that they've already got on the site, or you can bring in a video that you want to work on. So if we do a search for, it's coming up, Never Let Me Go, but I want to search for Never Let Me Go film, otherwise I get all sorts of weird things. Okay, so it brings up a few, that looks like, okay, those are trailers, so maybe not ideal. Okay, so as I explained, this won't work with the video that we just worked on because the subtitles are not accurate, which is a pity. Now, the next best thing, for instance, oh look, it's an interview with Sally Hawkins, who plays Miss Lucy. So we can check for quizzes. And this is brilliant. This means that on the website, they've already created some quizzes around this video. So you've got, and perfect. The first video is on contractions. Can you catch contractions such as I'll, heed, and so on? And I identified that as a problem in the clip that we just watched. We've also got articles, comparative adjectives, 2-word chunks. Okay, let's take a look at the contractions one.
The older guardian's a very quite somber, stern figure because she's younger. And
okay, so you can, what I did actually was I jumped to the section with the gap to fill in.
Because she's younger and closer.
Okay, so you can try popping in.
Because
every time you click, it's
stern figures.
Right, I'm just going to click check. Okay, so she's is the correct answer here. So by doing this quiz, if you've identified that contractions are a problem for you, especially with this actress's accent, then you can go in and you can just focus on catching the contractions. So you've diagnosed the problem and now you're fixing it by working on it intensively. So that's the whole idea behind TubeQuizard. But the only caveat is that you need to have accurate subtitles. Right. Let me stop sharing a second. Okay, another alternative to Tube Quizzer that you could use is a website that I've talked about before on this blog called VO Screen. So with VO Screen, there's a whole collection of different clips from lots and lots of different films, and you can do a search by grammatical structure. So you could select contractions. The only thing is, it won't bring up just one video with one accent and one voice. It will bring up lots and lots of different clips from different films that contain the structure that you want to train your ear with. So it can be a good idea, but I think it's better to work on just one video, preferably with, you know, one or maybe two speakers, so that you don't have the additional problem of unknown accents or unfamiliar voices and things like this. So it can work, but yeah, I think the lack of consistency is a bit of a shame. So today we've been through how to fix the problems that you've diagnosed with a couple of different solutions. Next week, I've got another solution that I've created for fixing your listening problems that I'll be talking about more. So until then, please go watch the clip, rate your understanding, and then diagnose your problems and have a go at fixing them. Okay, and I'll see you next week with my solution. Bye.